Good morning everybody and welcome to yet another Sunday Q&A. It's looking a bit miserable out there today, which means it might rain, which means I can spend the afternoon sitting in, watching TV, drinking beer and eating pizza. That sounds nice. I like that. I was going to do the garden, but might rain. Might have to do that next week, I think. So in fairness, I've got a few bits and pieces to do first, so including Sunday Q&A. Today is mainly about the subby thing. Yeah, thanks very much for your responses. I wasn't sure where to go with it, but most people are kind of saying the same thing. RK says, just say you're a subby. He says, I want more than the pound a mile to lie to people. And I did kind of think that. You know, you kind of think, well, I'm going in here and I've got to do this and I've got to do that and I've got to do this. And it's like, lads, come on. You're getting a rock bottom price anyway. I'll do the best I can, but, you know, there you go. Steve Davies says, I'm always honest. I just say I'm a subby. I'm fully covered and approved. Which, you know, that's fair enough. Like, you know, Yasmin Kangol says, technically we don't actually work for anybody. We do work for ourselves. So there's no need to pretend. In fairness, I don't know how often it's going to turn up. And if you go in, you know the rules. You go in, whoever has hired you, you go in as them. But I suppose on the odd chance where you do get caught out, you can just sort of say, well, we'll come to that. But it's not going to happen very often. And I think if you do your best to go in as someone, and on the odd chance it does get caught up, and you can't avoid it, there is nothing you can do about it. And it is the advantage of being on the exchange, which is the fact that you actually don't work for anybody. I've never worked for anyone in my life. I worked for my dad, I suppose, on the markets. I got a year working in an office once because I was studying and I had to spend a year. It was part of this course and they called it a sandwich course. 2 years in the college, 1 year in the office, 1 year in the college. And the only reason I got this job, I was the only candidate that went for the job, and is in administration. I hate administration. I've got a degree in it and I hate it. Don't even ask. But the only reason I got this job was I was the only candidate that went for the job, and apparently, and it was also unpaid. It was working in London. It was 40 hours a week. They paid you travel and they paid you £35 a week, which barely covered the sandwiches. So I was working markets at the weekend, and then I did something else which we won't go into. But yeah, the only reason I got this job was I was the only candidate that went for it, and apparently the lady who gave me the job, who I became very close friends with afterwards, she was my manager, turned around and she said, after you left the interview, I put my head in my hands and said, oh my God, what have I done? But as it was, I'd done the whole year with them. They were very pleased with me, not necessarily from the administration point of view, but I cleaned out their basement. And at the end of it, the woman turned around to me and she said, Peter, whatever you do in life, I will give you a shining reference for in any job you like, as long as it's not in administration. Just not cut out for it. Became a market trader, driving a van. There you go. So coming back to it, Leon Horton's take on it, he says, tell him you're an agency driver. Tell him you work for different people, you know, but, you know, yeah, that kind of thing, that could work. Ian the shipper, as always, the font of knowledge on this one. He says, transport companies know what a CX is. And this is kind of the true. I mean, a lot of the time you go in and you're saying what it is, and they're looking at you going, no, it ain't, mate, we know it ain't. So, you know, it's like, don't teach your grandma to suck eggs type of thing. He says he says what I say if I send a man in and they're not used, if he's been with someone else, I say he's the man from the internet. I thought, great. Does that make me Tron? I've always wanted one of them laser cycles, you know, the ones that turn at right angles and fire laser beams behind them. No, I'm not going to be Tron. I could drive a van. And finally, Darren Ingram. He's been doing this a little while. He says, tell the truth. He says, say that you're from a list of trusted drivers, and you, in fairness, he said, you can plug yourself, and I do. He says, I do a lot of work for this company, and depending on which company I go in for, I say that I do a lot of work for this company, and a lot of the time that is true. There's 3 or 4 or 5 companies that ring me up all the time that I do a lot of work for, so I do a lot of work for them. So if you want me again, just contact the company that you've been sent in for. That way you're not poaching, you're not doing anything wrong, call me again. And then they'll call the company, and the company will ring you, and you might get a regular job out of it, still via the company, not poaching, not doing anything wrong. I think that's probably got to be the best way forward. So thanks very much for your input, guys, appreciate that. Right, just a couple of other little questions to add on the end, not a particularly big one this week because I'm not doing that many videos. I'm kind of a bit, I'll be honest, A, it gets a bit hectic, and B, there's not always something to say. and there's no point me just coming on and just spouting for no apparent reason. So they might get a bit more sporadic, but if I've got something to say, I'll say it. If I haven't got anything to say, I'm not just going to bore you senseless for no apparent reason. So yeah, if something comes up, I'll not always something technical, but you know, something I want to share, you know. Right, so Paul Evans, he says about the London thing. Paul says now, he says, I've got a disability. I'm sorry to hear that, Paul. He says, but he says, to do with his van, he says there's no congestion charge. Well, I don't know, is there a congestion charge for disability? I suppose maybe you get exemptions. I don't know if that applies to ULEZ. I presume it doesn't, but I don't know. And also it's easy parking, I guess, because you've got the blue badge. So you can park in places other people can use. Now, this is the thing I always say. The CX is different things to different people. You don't have to work exclusively on the CX. You can be man and van on Saturdays and Sundays. You can do CX. You can do other career things. That was another thing. A guy turned around to me and he said about City Sprint. Shipley. And he says he uses Shipley. Now, there is another website out there called Shipley, and people post loads. And I think it's free to join. I did it a little bit when I was doing the removals kind of thing, and it's kind of good. But the reason I like the CX personally is it's live. And the thing about Shipley is you'll get a job and it'll be moving this from here to here, and it's kind of, but can you pick it up at this time and can you drop it off at this time? And when you start getting specific about times, it's like someone's nailed your foot to the floor. So it's a bit like, well, I'll go on the CX at 9 o'clock in the morning, go, oh look, there's a job from going around the corner going up to Manchester. I get, oh no, I can't. I've got to do that Shipley job at 11. So you can't do anything for the first 2 hours. I always try and get the job started as early as possible, try and shorten the distance to pick up as short as possible, run for as long as possible, get a job on for the morning. That's the way I work. Now, there are other ways out there. There are other sites out there. I've never used them. I've never had to. If I ever do, I'll let you know. I'm kind of the CX guy, I know, but that's just because it's how it fell for me, you know. So I'm not saying don't use them. And by all means, give us feedback on all of them. But yeah, Shipley can be used. In fairness, sometimes you can look at jobs on Shipley and you can get double what you can get, more money, certainly. Maybe double, I don't know, what you get on the CX. And if you'd rather work that way, you can work that way. For me, the CX works for it. Even if, I still say, even if you get a Shipley job, do the Shipley job, and then when you're finished, ping up the CX, there might be something taking you home, you never know. So that was that one. And just a quick one from Tifty Soft Cornwall. He's retiring next year, and he's saying jobs out of Cornwall. The thing about Cornwall, because my auntie Jude lives down in Devon, and she says there's a ton of courier drivers in Cornwall and Devon. I've heard this from other people, and again, if I'm wrong, please correct me, but a lot of them don't want to move out of Cornwall. So it really is, there's lots of man and van type thing, and they're very happy to move your sofa around the corner or to move your house around the corner. But if you turn around and say, can you pick this up and take it up to Newcastle? It's not really. So, or can you take it over to London? Well, I don't really want to, mate, because if I take it over to London, I'm going to come back empty. So, I don't know. It's a short answer. I know I often look at the load alerts. I don't think there's a lot of jobs coming out from Cornwall. They're like your tough areas. Once you get past Bristol, middle of Wales, Norwich, and anything past Cumbria, I find a bit tricky. I tend to stay in the middle square. Al calls it the Ghost. He's done a little map of it. The thing you've got to ask yourself is, how often do you want to be at home? I mean, if you're prepared to like pick up in Cornwall and travel, and then maybe sleep in the van 2 or 3 nights, or get yourself a bed and breakfast 2 or 3 nights, then you're going to have an awful lot more chance. There's I believe, and I could be wrong, as long as this is just my opinion on what I hear, there's a lot of courier drivers in the Cornwall area, but if you're prepared to move out, then you've got a lot more chance. So that's about it, really. Just to reiterate, if you have joined because of me, if you could leave your name and the CX number in the notes, I'm going to try and ping it onto the exchange. I'm talking to them. Like I say, I talk to them sometimes. I'm probably going to spend my afternoon now. I think I've got some emails. I've got to work out a banner. I've got to work out something to do with AdSense or something like that. But that's to do with this, and then hopefully I'll be done. So short one this week, guys. Like I say, there's no point me rabbiting for no apparent reason. But I hope you're all well, and it's a perfect opportunity to stay in and look at the rain and have a day off. Tomorrow's another day. So that's it. See, speak to you next Sunday. Speak to you in between. Take care, take money.